Good morning. This is Cindy Healy, and welcome to our first episode of
Our Age, Our View.
Thank you very much. And I have Meg Connors on my left and Julie Connors on my right. We are three women who have worked with seniors for accumulation of a billion years. I don't know, a long time.
It's not Adam.
And we have put together this video as part of an educational process to educate the public about seniors and what some of the challenges are, but from a real life perspective. And we'll be sharing with you cases, protecting the names so that there's no problem with that. But we'll be sharing with you cases of situations where a senior has been faced with a challenge, a particular challenge, and what we've done as professionals to solve that problem. I am the financial piece of our little puzzle here. I'm a CPA and a private trustee, and I work largely with seniors, but also with disabled adults in providing financial protection for them and managing their assets. And I have been doing this for about 35 years. So it's a long time. And Meg is a nurse. Mm-hmm. And Meg, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been a nurse for a long time.
Longer than 35.
Yeah. I've actually been in the business of working with seniors with assisted living and also in-home care actually this is our 40th year anniversary this month.
Okay.
So for 40 years I've dedicated myself to working with seniors. Started my first assisted living in 1979, and after that I started working in the private duty arena as well as a Medicare certified home health care agency. So I've got a lot of experience under my belt, a lot of stories to tell. But I've always loved what I do, and it's extremely rewarding. And my daughter, Julie.
So I grew up, 1979, I grew up in the business. I grew up going to the assisted living facilities and visiting with people and understanding what it is that my mother was doing. And after college, was fortunate enough to come back and start working for Mom. And I'm very lucky that I have spent close to 20 years now, actively involved in taking care of seniors and being in different roles, from, low down, working in direct contact with them, to overseeing teams of people, case managing. So again, have a decent amount of experience, not quite to the level of these lovely ladies next to me. But certainly come at it from a different perspective, and also the perspective of somebody who is younger and therefore is facing the future of aging parents.
And part of the reason that we are doing this with the three of us is that gives you, the viewer, the opportunity to see the perspectives of people from different ages, different decades. We all are part of a different decade, and you would be surprised that there are differences in how we view things and how we approach things. So from this, we hope that you will learn an awful lot, but you'll also have fun with us as we recap some of our stories of our clients and situations that have happened. So to start, what we'd like to do is we'll start on a lighter note. I think that's always good. We'll ask each of you to share a story that you found helpful or that will help our audience about one of your seniors.
All right.
So Julie, you want to start?
Okay, to start. So I think the goal being highlighting challenges that people still face through real life stories. So one we were talking about was a senior that lived in one of our assisted living facilities who had a credit card. And between the television and the credit card, a problem started to arise where this individual fell in love with the home shopping network. And packages started to arrive on a pretty much constant basis. And again, I think before the days of Amazon, I can't even imagine what this person would be like with Amazon these days. And a lot of packages. And the family started going, wait a second, what's going on? There's a lot of money being spent. And we said, well, unfortunately, we can't turn the television off. My suggestion would be that you put a limit on the credit card. And they had to go through a lot of steps and challenges trying to deal with explaining to the loved one who was confused why they couldn't be doing this, and trying to establish limits, and then ultimately cutting off the credit card and dealing with the disappointment and frustration of their loved one because they no longer had the ability to do what they wanted to be doing. But it stands out in my mind because I think in this day and age, seniors are still ripe for either scams or not understanding what they're doing. And when they have free reign access to funds, it opens the door to a challenge that the family's going to have to face because the money's going to go somewhere. And that could jeopardize the ability for the family to provide care, to pay for care for their loved one. So I think the important factor here is just remembering to think through all the different avenues where your loved one has access to funds, and perhaps coming up with a strategy where they have access to funds but in a more limited way.
Isn't it? It seems to me so much of this stems from a need to control. To control your own environment, to, as you age, to have restrictions put on you that you've never had before. And I think it's very difficult for the family. It's very difficult for the senior. They've always had a credit card. They've always been able to buy what they want. Don't tell me what I can buy and not buy. And especially with the parent-child relationship, it even makes it more difficult.
I have an example with that. I have a couple that husband and wife that are living at home, and they both are declining in mental capacity with memory and some physical issues. And the wife in the family always took care of everything, paid the bills, handled the finances, all the stuff that happens. The husband just brought home the paycheck and turned it over, and
There you go.
she spent it, okay?
Yeah. Sounds like me and my husband. Okay, I think I'm there.
Well, here's the danger. Here's the danger for your husband. Is that now the wife is not capable of taking care of the finances anymore. She can't stay focused. She can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so she basically stopped paying bills for about a year and didn't tell anything. And so we get a call that, from Adult Protective Services that they are out of money, they need help. So we went in, and I went in as power of attorney, and I realized right up front that the husband he's very defensive when you tell him no. Mm-hmm. I mean, if he can't
not used to being told no.
If he can't spend his $20 at the grocery store when he wants to, this is not okay. He has no ability anymore to reason that there's not enough money to pay the bills and allow him the freedom to do whatever he wants. He can't make that sense in his head. So he was resisting all attempts we were making to control his spending.
Mm-hmm.
And it dawned on me, there's something more here at play. And so I went out and talked to him and had one of those conversations that we now call courageous conversations. And I just sat down with them, and I try, as I know you both do, to sit in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
How would this feel? And I said, your wife took care of everything for all these years, and they've been married for 65 years.
Wow.
And I said, did she ever tell you no? We can't afford this? Or we need to wait to do this until this? And he said, no, I don't remember her ever telling me no. And she's a very quiet, little mild-mannered person that I'm sure she probably didn't tell him no. I'll just go with that.
Yeah.
So I said, so Gary, I'm telling you no because there's not enough money to do these things. And I think you're just not accustomed to that. But the only way I can help you and manage your monies and get you out of debt is to be able to know that the money that's in the bank is for the bills that we've allocated it to, not for any other expenses unless we talk about it. So we can take and give on what we pay and what we don't.
Sure.
So it was very interesting to go through that challenge of, and families do all the time,
Yes.
of how do we stop them from spending because they can't think it through like they used to be able to.
Well, that's why somebody like you is so very important, because again, the parent-child relationship makes it much more difficult, I think.
Or the
because-
spousal, either
and
one.
the spousal,
either
because
one.
you're changing the game rules
Yeah.
that you've lived under
Yes.
for so long.
Yes.
When an independent person comes in and can be
Yes.
honest and doesn't have that relationship that makes it more difficult, I think
It can be helpful.
it can be very
It
helpful.
can be helpful. It's not always helpful to have an independent person. Sometimes if the family relationship is strong enough and the people have good communication skills, you can do that. But at the time that we got involved, both of these people were in a decline
Sure.
mentally,
Yeah.
and so it makes it harder because they can't
Well, I think-
understand anymore.
And I think in some
things.
situations there's a distrust of somebody that isn't
Absolutely.
family suddenly talking about
Absolutely.
their finances.
Absolutely.
So, sometimes it can play for you and sometimes, it won't work well for you.
yeah.
So again, so many of these situations are little steps, gentle little steps, finding out what's going to work best in that situation.
And so one of the things that we've talked about and we want to share with you out there is one of the best ways to protect a senior who has been protected, like if you're handling all the finances, your husband has been protected
Yes.
from doing all of that. The best way to protect them for when you're gone is to build a team
Yes.
Yes.
around them.
Yeah.
Introduce them to the fiduciary, pick one. Introduce them to the trustee, have them work with that
Break that ground.
Yes,
Break that ground
before.
in advance.
so that it's not a stranger
Yes.
and they can transfer that dependency to some extent, the
Absolutely.
emotional, to that person that you have already approved of.
Well,
so you
and-
retain control.
And as
kind
you
of.
know,
Yeah.
that's exactly what we did with my mother.
Yes, that's right.
Where
that's
you,
right. You
my
did.
mom, and I, we
Yeah.
get together, pay the bills,
Yeah.
and she had a comfort level with working with you because she knew it was okay with me. So again, that team approach, which makes a huge difference.
It was a great thing.
Absolutely.
So we hope today we'll give you a little snip of how we are doing this, and we hope you've learned a little bit of what to do with your senior that you love and their money and how you can help them. Please join us next time as we'll tackle some more topics that involve seniors. And you can contact us if you have questions you'd like us to answer on air at Cynthia Healy 2018.com. That's gmail.com. Sorry. Cynthia Healy 2018 at gmail.com. I need coaching on that, so thank you. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.